The sleepover had started like any other. My best friends, Sarah and Mark, and I had gathered at Sarah's old Victorian house nestled on the outskirts of town. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the sprawling garden and the towering trees that surrounded the house. Sarah's parents were away for the weekend, leaving us alone in the creaking mansion. As night settled in, we huddled in the living room, indulging in snacks and exchanging ghost stories. The dim glow of the candles flickered against the antique furniture, casting eerie shadows on the walls. We laughed and scoffed at the tales, confident that the supernatural world was nothing more than fiction. But as the clock ticked closer to midnight, an unsettling hush fell over the room. It was as though the house itself had absorbed our laughter and replaced it with a heavy, ominous silence. We exchanged glances, each of us sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Mark broke the silence with a grin. "All right, who's up for a little dare to liven things up?" Sarah and I exchanged playful glances, both of us up for the challenge. "What did you have in mind?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. Mark's eyes gleamed mischievously. "Let's play the Midnight Whispers game." I raised an eyebrow. "Midnight Whispers? I've never heard of that." Mark leaned in, his voice low and conspiratorial. "It's a game my cousin told me about. You sit in a circle, turn off all the lights, and each person takes turns whispering a question to the darkness. Supposedly, the spirits in the room answer with whispers." Sarah and I exchanged a look of skepticism, but our curiosity got the better of us. We extinguished the candles, plunging the room into complete darkness except for the faint light filtering in through the windows. We formed a circle on the floor, hands trembling with a mix of excitement and apprehension. Sarah went first, her voice shaky as she whispered into the dark void, "Is there anyone here with us?" The silence that followed was heavy, oppressive. I felt a shiver crawl down my spine, and my heart pounded against my rib cage. Just as Sarah was about to laugh off the absurdity, a soft, barely audible whisper seemed to brush against my ear. I froze, my breath catching. Mark leaned in, his face pale in the dim light. "What did it say?" Sarah hesitated, her voice trembling. "I think it said yes." Chill settled over the room, thickening the air with unease. It was as though the darkness itself had come alive, listening to our every word. Gathering my courage, I decided to ask a question. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice barely louder than a breath. Again, the silence hung heavy, but this time the response was quicker. Whispers, like a gust of wind through a decaying forest, danced around us. My heart raced, and I exchanged a nervous glance with my friends. The atmosphere had shifted from playful curiosity to something far more unsettling. Mark's turn came next. The question was hesitant, as if he was unsure whether he truly wanted to receive an answer. "What do you want?" The whispers grew stronger, more insistent, swirling around us like a vortex. I felt a cold breeze sweep through the room, even though the windows were shut tight. The sensation was chilling, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were no longer alone. Suddenly, the room seemed to come alive with shadows. Shapes flickered at the edges of our vision, faces that appeared for mere moments before vanishing into the darkness. Panic clenched at my chest, and I realized that we had ventured into something far more sinister than we could have ever anticipated. We decided to end the game, the atmosphere too overwhelming to bear. We switched on the lights, but the sense of unease remained, hanging over us like a shroud. We laughed nervously, trying to brush off the tension that had settled in our bones. As the night wore on, we retreated to our sleeping bags in the living room, exhaustion tugging at our eyelids. But as I lay there on the cusp of sleep, I heard something that jolted me awake. A soft whisper that seemed to be coming from right beside me. "Stay." My heart raced, and I sat up, my eyes darting around the room. Mark and Sarah were asleep, oblivious to the unsettling voice that had reached my ears. I strained to hear more, but the room was now silent, the whispers having retreated back into the shadows. I pulled the sleeping bag up to my chin, my heart still hammering against my chest. I couldn't shake the feeling that we had awakened something that had been dormant in the house for years. The darkness held secrets, and I feared we had just scratched the surface. Hours passed, and as the first rays of dawn crept through the windows, I allowed myself to relax. The night had been filled with unsettling whispers and shadows, but now, in the light of day, everything seemed more manageable, less threatening. As we gathered our things and prepared to leave, I stole one last glance at the living room. The candles from the night before were still extinguished, and the antique furniture stood as silent witnesses to the night's events. A sense of unease lingered, a reminder that some experiences could never be fully explained or understood. As we stepped out into the sunlight, the weight of the night began to lift. But I knew that the memories of the Midnight Whispers game, the chilling voices and shifting shadows, would stay with me forever.